They have over 6 miles of trails. You can weave around Lake Springfield. So there's a lot of opportunities for outdoor nature. We have great parks. Now, we're not a hilly, rolling area. We're the prairies, so it is somewhat flat. But there are lots of things that you can do outside. If that's what we have, bike trails, we have walking trails. But there are a lot of opportunities there.
What's Prairie's Edge Farm?
Prairie's Edge Farm. That was a really interesting question, by the way. Prairie's Edge Farm, I would say the way to think about Prairie's Edge Farm is for visitors who want to experience a taste of farm life. Mm-hmm. This would be some place that they could go. Now, it's not a big, huge, corporate-owned, farm-producing land. It is an active working farm where families, adults, kids can go and just have a chance to experience a little bit of what farm life is like. They have horses, they have chickens, they have several other animals. They do grow crops throughout the year. So it's a nice flavor. It's a nice flavor of experiencing a farm without overwhelming you of all the things that might be happening there.
It'd be on my list when I come and visit anyway. That's why I pulled it up.
Yeah, it was like, really? Okay.
You can follow me on Twitter at holiday_hut. I'm currently speaking to Jeff Berg, the Client Services Manager at Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau. We're finding out why you should visit, and it's got nothing to do with The Simpsons. I tried really hard not to put a Simpsons-based question in my interviewing, and I managed it, but luckily Jeff still brought it up, so that was great. You know, putting questions together can be real hard work sometimes. You have to do a lot of homework. And when you see something as obvious as that, and you know that everybody in the whole world has probably asked that question, it makes life a little bit harder. But anyway, we're finding out what you can see when you get to Springfield. And the question I put to Jeff now is, are there any annual events that are held there?
Well, I think that one thing that would be especially interesting is currently we have the International Route 66 Mother Road Festival, which takes place the last weekend of September. Every month there's usually over 1,000 classic cars. There are some modern cars as well, but there are a lot of classic cars that take part. It's in downtown Springfield. It's a free event. The cars fill the streets of downtown after a parade that goes into downtown on Friday night. There's lots of musical entertainment, different vendors, foods, lots of shops around the downtown area. So it's really a great weekend that we know a lot of international travelers enjoy. But having said that, we have a lot of things happening throughout the year, especially during the summer months, where there are weekend festivals that may take place around a food theme, or we have large art festivals in Springfield. A lot of different activities that in those warmer summer months or late spring to early fall happen and give a lot of people a little added experience why they're in Springfield. We're a great location because we're, you know, it's classic, but we're really a sample of real America. We are the size of a city that you'll find much more frequently across the U.S. than some of the larger destinations that you think of. So it's a great place to step back and relax, get away from the hustle and bustle, and just find yourself a little bit amongst the different things that we have to do.
Is there much in the way of an arts and culture scene there?
We do have a thriving and I would say growing local arts and culture scene on a small scale. Not a small scale, but on a more local scale. We certainly have a lot of different galleries that you can visit that have local artists that have their works available. We have a very strong local theater and dance community, which puts on productions at a few. We have an outdoor theater that actually two outdoor theaters, one large outdoor theater off Lake Springfield that does summer productions every year. We have the Hoagland Center for the Arts, which has a lot of community activities, whether it be dance or theater related, and then another outdoor theater in New Salem, which is about 30 miles northwest of Springfield. That is another Lincoln-related attraction with New Salem State Park. But then we do also receive we do have nationally touring Broadway shows, some top name performers that come through on a regular basis. So there are a lot of different options that you would find depending on what time of year you're coming.
Where would be the best part of the city to stay if you're a first-time visitor?
I think really our historic downtown area is probably where you want to stay as a first-time visitor, just because of ease of access. You can, however you're getting to Springfield, you can go to your hotel and, as I said before, walk around and really enjoy almost everything related to the history in Springfield. Some great locally owned restaurants for all flavors, and some small boutique shops. So I think that's a great place to come your first time. We do have a lot of hotels that surround the city, so there are opportunities there, and it's certainly easy from there to come in to our downtown area. But I think that's probably the way you want to go when you first come to visit.
While looking at your website to find out things to ask questions about, I came across a horseshoe sandwich. What's that?
A horseshoe sandwich is a local specialty that you don't find in the rest of the country, and it's something that was started at the Leland Hotel a very long time ago in the early, I think, 1930s, between 1930 and 1940. That's going to be my guess for you. But it's an open face sandwich that we say when you have it as a visitor is certainly a healthy experience, even though your brain might be telling you something different. But it's an open face sandwich with a thick toast on the bottom. Then there is typically some form of meat that makes the next layer, whether it be a ham or a hamburger. The hamburger seems to be very traditional now. When it was first created, it was more the piece of ham. But at this point, because it's been around so many years, there are a number of variations that you can have for that first layer. And then the next two layers involve a little heaping fry of French fries, as well as some very tasty cheese sauce. So it's a wonderful comfort food flavor combination that restaurants all around the city have their own little specialty versions of. So it's a definite must-have when you come to Springfield.
Sounds messy.
It is not the cleanest, but it's worth the fight to have a horseshoe sandwich. They're delicious.
Where would be the best place to have one?
Ooh, see, I would tell people they have to try it a couple places to say that we have there are several different locations that serve them, and people that have won different contests for the best of. There's a place called Darcy's Pint, which would probably be a very good place. There's another diner called Charlie Parker's Diner, which would be a good place. Obed and Isaac's Microbrewery. Those are just a few. There are countless others. But those are a few that come off the top of my head, and I'll throw in there one other thing is because of all the variations. If you're going somewhere for breakfast, they might have a breakfast horseshoe, which is the breakfast spin on the same sandwich.
When you're interviewing people and you're recording for a radio, that you can sometimes make a right mess of asking the question. But if it's your own show, you can edit out the mess you made. Or in this case, you can edit out the mess you made originally and the mess you made of trying to ask the question again after making a mess of the question, which is what I've done now. And believe it or not, the question is, what's the minimum amount of time somebody should spend in Springfield? See, I nearly made a mess of it again. So just to conclude the conversation with Jeff Berg from Springfield, Illinois is what's the minimum amount of time that somebody should spend in the city?
I think it's very easy. You can certainly spend a longer time, but it's very easy to spend 2 nights in Springfield and have a well-rounded trip because you're probably coming from Chicago. If you're driving, you're enjoying other Route 66 stops along your way to Springfield because there are so many between Chicago and Springfield. So depending on your time of arrival, it's very easy to spend 2 nights and 2 full days, depending on how that fits into your schedule. Now, again, you can spend a longer time, and we have people spend 4 to 7 days. But I think you're missing your opportunity if you don't give yourself a couple nights, so that you can enjoy coming down to Springfield and giving yourself plenty of time to see what we have to offer there.
Plenty of time to try plenty of horseshoe sandwiches.
Plenty of horseshoes, but I want to say we have wonderful farm to table restaurants as well with locally and regional food there that are they would be the higher on the health list probably, but get a good dose of both.
And finally, how can we find out more about Springfield?
Well, the easiest thing to do is to visit our website at visitspringfieldillinois.com. There you have a lot of information at your fingertips about all that is available. You can request one of our visitor guides that we'll happily send out to you, and that will be a great source of general information for all that is in Springfield, with also links to other information if you want to know more specifics about hotels, sites, and attractions, and that type of thing.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
You can keep up to date with travel news and leave me a message at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. As always, any website mentioned on the show will be posted at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Just look for the post for the podcast link for the show, the 26th of May 2016. And after that introduction to the podcast, there will be the list of any websites mentioned during today's show. Before I start speaking to fellow UK Health Radio presenter Clive de Carle about sunburn and suntanning, I've had a press release come from the UK European Consumer Centre about hiring cars, which I'm just going to go through now. The UK ECC has launched a campaign aimed at equipping UK consumers with the tools to be well prepared when hiring cars elsewhere in the EU. Complaints to the UK European Consumer Centre, or UK ECC, about car hire in the UK have continued to rise over the past year, and UK consumers are being urged to follow the UK ECC's advice when hiring a vehicle and to do everything they can to know before they go. Hire car complaints went up by almost 7% in 2015 over the previous year. This rise is against the backdrop of an overall rise of complaints by UK consumers to the Consumer Centre of 2%. The UK European Consumer Centre Director Andy Allen said that complaints about car hire the previous year rose by just over 23%, so it's good to see that the rate of increase in car hire complaints has started to drop, but disappointing that the figure is still rising at all. The European Commission announced in July 2015 that the top 5 car rental companies operating in the EU, which are Avis Budget, Enterprise, Europcar, Hertz and Sixt, pledged to better align current car rental practices with consumer legislation set out by EU rules on consumer rights, unfair commercial practices and unfair terms. And I did cover this with the UK ECC last year. I will put a link to the show on facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. The pledge from the top 5 came after work by the European Commission and national consumer protection authorities, led by the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, and means that consumers should benefit from clearer contract terms on insurances and tank refilling options, fairer handling of complaints and greater price transparency. The action was triggered by the rising complaints relating to car rentals received by the European Consumer Centres. Unfortunately, the UK ECC receives complaints about many car hire companies. Some of the main improvement pledged by the top 5 include